Hello guys, welcome back. In this video, we'll be learning about networking. So the title is Q networks or QT networks. So Q networks. So in this video, what we'll be doing is a very simple application. Let me show you. I've already completed the UI, basic text field and a button. So what we will do is we'll enter the location, let's say New York or any location, let's say Delhi or Paris or Italy or let's say any place. And when we click on this button called fetch weather, what will happen is we will fetch the weather from the API. So we'll be using this GitHub repo. Let me scroll up. So it's called weather.in, wttr.in. So it's very free. It's free. It doesn't require any API key or any other hassle. So I'll be using this, and we need the output in JSON format. So we'll be using this link here. If you see, they are searching for Detroit, and we are getting the weather data. If you see weather code, wind direction, humidity, temperature in Celsius, temperature in Fahrenheit, feels like means how it feels like, right? Humid or something. So yeah, we'll be using this thing. So let's get started. So we'll be typing here something, and when we click on the button, we'll fetch the weather. So we are passing the location, right? So a basic text field with an ID, excuse me, and a button. Now, if the when you click on the button, if the text field is empty, then return. Location cannot be empty. Otherwise, we will call this method backend helper dot make API request. So let's see. We have a queue invocable method which requires a location. So obviously we need a location to get the weather data, right? So that's why this string is required, and queue string. So let's get started, right? So if you remember SQL, we have already finished SQL, CRUD application and all this stuff. So if you remember, there is something called Q SQL database. Now there was a database and there was Q SQL query. Now this database was simply a manager. It was a manager, right? What it did was it created the database file, it opened the database file and created few tables, my first table, second table, and so on. Now for inserting items, deleting, updating, and inserting, right, removing, so we needed this query. This query did the actual task, and this one actually managed. So it opened the database, created the DB file, created tables to work with, right? Similarly, for network, we have something called Q network access manager, right? So this file, Q network access manager. So it's a manager, as you can see from the name. So it's basically like Q SQL database. We need this first. After that, we can make API request. If you got my point. So, excuse me. Anyway, let's start this method make API request. But before that, we need the file Q network access manager. So I'll hash include this here, and we need to also include the network in the CMake file. So let's open the find package network, excuse me, and QT6 network here or here, anywhere is fine. So save this thing, right? Now in the backend helper, what we will do is we will create a private member variable, private, and I'll say Q network access manager. The variable name can be anything. I'll say N or M network manager, right? So this will be the variable name, and we will be using this variable, right? Now what you need to also include is Q network request and Q network reply. So this is this Q SQL query, similar to Q SQL query, right? So if you look at the name, it's request and reply. So let's say we want to fetch the weather from Google. So first we make a request to Google that please give me the weather, and Google will reply with some data value, right? JSON value. So that is Q network reply. This will handle that. So when you make a request that please give me the weather of London, so that is for Q network request. And let's say the website gives you data, that is reply. So we need this These two things we require, right? So let's go to the constructor here, and here we will connect. So we'll say Q object colon connect and give the reference to network manager. Now what we will do is, let me first show you this class Q network access manager has a signal called finished. We'll be handling this signal, right? So in this object, this class is a singleton class, right? Every class has an object which is used. So this singleton class has only one object because singleton is by property has only one object. So here we need a method to handle. So what I will do is I'll say private slot and make it void handle network or handle uh, what can I say, finish response or something. Okay, first let me tell you what I'm doing, right? Let me open the class Q network access manager. So if you know the basics of networking, there are four requests like get, post, put, and delete, right? So get is to get information. Post is, let's say when you sign up to a website, we send a post request like please sign me up. Put is when you update, and delete is for deleting, right? So there are methods get, post, put, and delete. So you will see in the Q network access manager class, if you see there is put, there is post, there will also be get. Now obviously we'll come back later. In this video we'll only work with get, right? Get, when we pass a request. So if you see, when you try to get the weather, you pass a request like please give me the weather, right? With information here like with which website and what data, right? So get requires a network request, and obviously it will give me a response, right? So how will I get the response? Let's see the signals. So it fires a finished signal with Q network reply. This means that when the QT this manager thing, when it tries to get the weather from Google, or let's say in this case this API URL like weather.in, it says hey weather.in give me weather for Detroit, and when this website gives me this response, then this finished signal is fired, and we know that we have to handle this finished signal, right? So I'll say handle finished or something. So I'll say handle uh, request finished, or you can name this anything you want. Now in the parameter I'm getting something. What I'm getting Q network reply pointer. So I'm getting the reply. Here I have all the data, whether it was successful, whether I got the weather, or whether there was some issue, network issue or something, right? So here I will use this pointer variable to handle the reply or the response, right? So I'll right click here, refactor, add definition in backend helper, and we will complete this later. We'll complete this later, don't worry. For now, pass ampersand by reference. Here again I'll say ampersand. Now backend helpers, this slot. Now this will be a bit complicated. Single slot I think I don't have taught officially, but think of it like this. When the network manager, right, this manager thing, when it fires the finish signal, then handle it in this method, right? Uh, handle when the network manager fired the signal. Now which signal did the network manager fire? This void finish. This one void finished. So when this signal is fired, like when it actually fetched the weather from the this URL, then it will fire this signal finished, and then we will handle the response like we will print the JSON, or we will get the weather data and do something with the UI like show the detail to the user like hey the weather is 25 degree Celsius, right? Or stuff. So now we have done this thing. uh, so we have also another method called make API request. This will be called from the UI. So here I will pass the location and we will call the API, right? So let's do that. So very simple, we will first create a queue URL, but for that we need to include queue URL. But before that, let's first make a string. QString API, what can I name it? URL equals this URL, right? We will fetch the weather from this URL. Like if you copy this and paste here, you will see we are getting the response for Detroit, right? So we will do this here in double quotes. But if you see, we are hard coding Detroit, which is not a good practice, right? So instead of that, we will do this. Instead of Detroit, we will say %1, and we will say after this .arg location. So what it will do is wherever it sees %1, it will fill with the location, and location we are sending from the UI. So let's say we type Paris. So it will be weather.in/Paris question mark format equals J1. J1 stands for JSON. Now what we will do is we will convert it to QURL. QURL. This is used for validation, right? We can directly do this. Instead of this, we will just say QURL. The constructor, right? Now we will say if API URL dot is valid, then make the request. Otherwise, we will say Q debug invalid URL provided. Now why did I do this? Let's say in the location we type some garbage thing, right? Let's say we type wttr.in slash some random abc space something garbage, right? So this is meaningless, right? This is not a valid URL. If you type in the browser, you will see nothing happens. So we need to have a URL checker, right? Like whether the URL is actually valid or not. So if it's valid, we will say queue network request. Let's say network request only, and here we will pass the API URL. So as you can see, the constructor of queue network request, it takes the URL, right? This one here, constructor request with the URL. So we have the request. I hope you got what the request is. Like we are requesting like to the manager, please fetch this API, right? So we'll say queue network manager dot get, and then we will pass this request, right? So it will say please get this weather data, right? After that, when it actually fetches the data, it will pass this finished signal, right? And then it will be handled here in this method. So here we got the reply, right? We got the reply. So we will say if reply let's see all the methods. So let's see if the reply has an error, right? Let's see queue network reply, not request, queue network reply. Excuse me. So it this method error returns the error that was found. Like if there was no error, then it will return this thing, right? So we have to check this thing, right? That there was no error when fetching the API. So if this equals, so this is C plus plus only double equals. So if the reply had no error, right? It had no error. That means success. Yes, we got value. We got the value. Otherwise, something wrong happened, right? Else we will just say Q debug something or some error occurred, right? We can also print the error, right? So we will say reply. It should have an error message, right? Error string, yeah. So it will print the error, right? Using this method, error string. So if there was any issue like network was not present, or let's say the website server is down, they are not providing reply, or they are not accessing, letting you access the weather data, right? Something happened. So we will print this value. Otherwise, what we will do is just for now, let's just directly print qdebug dot no quote, so we don't print extra quotes, and we will say reply read all. And for now, let's first run the application and see. I know this is too much to bear, but yeah, I try to simplify it a lot. So let's clear this thing. We are just printing whatever we got, right? First we make the request. First of all, what we do is we create the URL from this string, right? So this is QURL, because we can check the valid, if the URL is valid or not, because it can be garbage thing, like in the location user can type numbers or whatever garbage he wants. We have to validate that, right? So here we validate it, then we create a request, and then we tell the manager, please, hey, get this request, get the data, and then it will say, okay, I have finished it after some time. So when that happens, we check everything here, right? If there was any error or not. If there was, we print the error. Otherwise, we directly print whatever the value we received. So let's say we type some location here. We can say Accra. I think Accra, I guess. Protocol is unknown. Okay, so we got some error here. So protocol is unknown. Okay. Now, why is that? Is it because we have to do HTTPS? Let's see. Let's say we type, let's say Italy. Okay, it's taking some time. Wow. It was too much of data. So let's try with some other location which is very small. Let's say uh, Paris. Let's see. So again, Paris is too large. Let's try something more like Dhaka of Bangladesh, capital of Bangladesh. So yeah, as you can see, the data is too large. Obviously, we have to cut short the data, right? Because this is too much. So there is Dhaka, Bangladesh. Let's try New Delhi one last time. If this was on Mumbai, I think Mumbai should be small, right? Oh god damn it, man! This is too much. But yeah, as you can see, we are getting the data, right? Earlier we got the issue. Some error occurred because the website URL did not have HTTPS. Simply typing this is not good enough, right? Because in the browser, if you do that, it will automatically convert. Like if you copy this thing and if you paste in any place, like if you paste back here, you will see it automatically adds HTTPS, which is secure protocol. So we should have added this thing here, right? Listen to be learned. So I added HTTPS protocol, and then we fetch the data whether. So very simple thing. Again, I will say first we are using QRL. We can directly pass the string here, but no, this is a better practice. Then we check if the URL is valid. If it's not valid, we print the error. Otherwise, we make a request. And in the network manager, we say, hey, get the request. Now, one more thing, we should always do this, very important. We should delete the reply, delete later. This is very important because otherwise what will happen is this reply thing, this pointer thing. See, this is a pointer, right? So the pointer should be freed, right? We should free the pointer, otherwise it will always remain in memory. So in this case, it will be a dangling pointer, right? So this pointer will never be freed. I think this will be a memory link. So instead of like keeping it as it is, we should always free the pointer after our work is done, of course. Like we should not put this code here, then we cannot access the reply methods, right? So this is not a good place. Always like put the delete thing uh, at the end. Actually, this will not be a dangling pointer case, it will actually be a memory leak. So the pointer is used, but after still the memory is not freed. So yeah, that's the issue. Now what if we want to actually not print the data simply, we actually want to like access the JSON, right? So for example, if I say New Delhi or New York, so let's say New York, and click on fetch weather.